maybe it's finally happening. I've been bemoaning the fact that Donald Trump doesn't seem to be paying attention to us when he should be paying attention to us more than any other state in the nation. After all, we're the state that was furthest to the left in the last election, hardly moved at all to the right as everyone else was shifting. We're the state that constantly sues him and has been suing him the entirety of the time that he's been in the White House, both already this second term and the term before. And we're the state that I think is most diametrically opposed to what President Trump is doing. So it's been annoying, and I've complained about it quite a bit, that one, he seems to be focused on dumb states like Maine. Nobody cares about Maine. Nobody cares about what's happening in Maine. And also that he's been putting down some of these executive orders that are tailor-made for a state like Washington, but don't seem to really be accomplishing anything here just yet. So I'm happy to hear that at his 100 Days rally in Michigan last night, Donald Trump mentioned us, although am I happy to hear it? Because it's kind of for a bad reason, but at least he knows we exist and bad stuff is happening here.
Just this month, 2 Venezuelan members of TDA, Tren de Aragua, were arrested in Washington state for kidnapping a 58-year-old woman driving a power drill through her hand to extort her bank account information, shooting her, leaving her for dead. And miraculously, she just survived, but she's not feeling so well.
I'm sorry. Okay, you could have just stopped it there. That man, he just trails off. Yeah, I don't think she's feeling well. She went through quite a horrific ordeal. I hate to laugh about it. But so he's talking, of course, about a story we discussed on the show previously. The Post-Millennial broke this story. ICE confirms suspects accused of kidnapping, torturing Seattle area woman are illegal immigrants with alleged ties to Tren de Aragua. So the suspects are 24 and 25 years old. And I mean, this is a horrific crime. Woman's kidnapped outside of her apartment complex, almost 60 years old, in Burien, which if you're not familiar, is just south of Seattle. Robbed, tortured, driven to the mountain pass where she was shot and left for dead, ended up surviving. And one of the reasons we had talked about this previously is obviously the horrific nature of this, but about the fact that our sanctuary policies protect those people. Our sanctuary policies, as much as our state wants to act like, oh no, we're not hindering anything, they are hindering, because the King County Jail said at the time that this story came out, under Washington state law and King County Code, King County jails may not release a person to federal immigration authorities absent a criminal warrant issued by a federal U.S. district court judge or magistrate. And that was in response to a question from our friend Ari Hoffman about whether King County would honor the ICE detainers put on those 2 suspected Tren de Aragua gang members who had allegedly committed such a horrific crime. So you can, in Washington state, kidnap, torture, shoot a woman, leave her for dead, and sanctuary laws in this state will protect you from deportation. Is that really what people who support sanctuary policies want? Some of them probably. But I think for the vast majority of people who just say, oh, the sanctuary sounds nice, you know, we don't want them rounding up brown people. They don't look at it like, they don't look at instances like this, and the media doesn't cover it enough. I mean, this is post-millennial. There was a little bit of attention on this case, but remember we talked about the Seattle Times covered this case and not once mentioned the immigration status of the 2 suspects. Not one mention. Not one mention of their ties to Tren de Aragua. Not one mention. Just run-of-the-mill Washington state homegrown criminals kidnapping and leaving a woman for dead. It's absolutely insane. We did this special report, Sanctuary, which came out a couple weeks ago. And as part of it, we talked about this issue of it's not as simple as just, oh, we're not going to help federal immigration agents. I don't know that I even want local police departments spending too much time helping federal immigration agents with, you know, for instance, on traffic stops, checking documentation, stuff like that. We don't have, SPD's down 700 officers. They don't have time to be doing all that. But in the very serious cases, why would you not want to help? Does it not help if your mission is public safety, which I have to believe that every law enforcement agency in the state of Washington, their primary mission is public safety, right? Does it not help improve public safety by getting dangerous people not only off our streets, but out of our country? I would think so. Does that not help the police? And one of the big issues here that would be so simple to change just like that is this issue of detainers. Is you've already got someone in custody. They're in the country illegally. They're suspected of a violent crime. Instead of just releasing them out, like maybe they make bail and not telling ICE about it, just call up ICE and say, hey, I know you've got a detainer on this guy. Rather than release this dangerous person into the community where you've got to send your ICE agents out after them, creating a dangerous situation for agents and for everyone else in the community, just come and get him while he's in custody, and that's safer for everyone. It's something that Matthew Murphy, who's the acting special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations in Seattle, told us in our documentary, Sanctuary.
When we put detainers on people and with the states, somebody gets arrested for even a violent crime and there's a detainer, that's not honored. They go back out onto the streets. Now we have to put 6 to 10 agents out all day, sometimes several days, to try and find that person, to wait. And it's very manpower intensive, as opposed to if the detainer was just honored, 1 or 2 agents could just go pick that individual up at jail and take him into immigration custody. That makes it a lot safer for everybody. So that would certainly be a nice thing. And then, just the regular encounters, if you think about the encounters that the state and local police, they're out doing every day. They're enforcing the laws, and they're kind of the first line out there. And I know in other jurisdictions where they encounter individuals, they could call us, and sometimes there's federal charges for fraudulent documentation or for illegal entry after removal and just different things like that. And I think when things are operating, law enforcement can all communicate, work together on common goals. It just always makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's common sense. And especially when we're down so many officers, lowest number of police officers per capita of any state in the nation, as you know by now, to have federal agents here helping us out in any form or fashion, we should be thanking them and kissing their feet, to be quite honest with you. So again, great that Donald Trump's talking about it. Glad he noticed and that story got enough attention to make it to him. But what is he going to do about it? I'm going to continue to complain about talk and even some executive actions that haven't really resulted in significant changes. And I know it's only been a couple months, but at the same time, if you put down an EO, what's the time frame for that EO making a difference? I will say our friend Ari Hoffman was down at, went to the White House a couple days ago for their media row. They do a media row for some radio folks and podcasters. And he asked the question I've been dying to ask the White House about, okay, do you notice us over here? When are you going to come to the aid of sane Washingtonians who want something to change? Here's part of his conversation with Deputy Press Secretary Kush Desai.
The administration has gone after Maine, rightfully so. It's gone after these other states. When's the cavalry coming out to Washington? We're eagerly waiting for it. And as a conservative, asking for federal intervention is killing me. But that's how bad things are.
You know what? I think we plan on delivering relief for the people of every state, including your neck of the woods, very soon. So just hold on tight.
I appreciate that.
Hold on tight. What does very soon mean? They did, however, put down, as you know, because we teased it on the show when White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was talking about it, an executive order. It says it's protecting American communities from criminal aliens. So what does it do? What does that mean? What do they say is going to happen? So there's basically 4 steps to this that I want to go through. So the first step is it says within 30 days of the date of the order, so that was like a couple days ago, so about a month from now, the Attorney General, in coordination with Homeland Security, shall publish publicly a list of states and local jurisdictions that obstruct the enforcement of federal immigration laws, so sanctuary jurisdictions. So great, okay, I mean, that should be pretty easy to come by. We kind of know where the sanctuary jurisdictions are, so it'll be the states like our state or like California and Oregon, and it'll also be the individual cities. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, it says immediately following each publication, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security shall notify each sanctuary jurisdiction regarding its defiance of federal immigration law enforcement and any potential violations of federal criminal law. Okay, that's great, but trust me, they know. They know that they're in violation of federal law, and up to this point, they don't care because they continue to violate federal law. So post publicly the list, a little naming and shaming, and then let them know, put them on notice, you're violating federal law. If they don't change the behavior, what happens then? So there's a couple actions that can be taken according to this executive order. It says consequences. With respect to sanctuary jurisdictions, the head of each executive department or agency, federal agency, in coordination with the director of the Office of Management and Budget, shall identify appropriate federal funds to sanctuary jurisdictions, including grants and contracts for suspension or termination as appropriate. Okay, so you go after them financially. And again, this has been something that's been threatened before on the DEI front, and I haven't seen anything meaningful happen. Or I haven't seen the threat. I mean, I think there's always a hope that the threat will do something, right? But look at what happened when the executive order came down on DEI and on keeping boys out of girls' sports. What did that threat do? Nothing. They decided to keep boys and girls' sports in Washington, literally took a vote on it. And our governor came out and announced a statewide conference on DEI. So not only did they not care about the threat, they went even further in the other direction and dug their heels in and gave Donald Trump a big middle finger. So let's say they don't care about the threat or the actual action to take funds away from the state of Washington. Let's say they'll just raise taxes on us or whatever it is. So what happens next? So sort of step 4 in this executive order. So if the sanctuary jurisdictions defined in the order remain in defiance of federal law, even after all of that, the Attorney General and Homeland Security Secretary shall pursue all necessary legal remedies and enforcement measures to end these violations and bring such jurisdictions into compliance with the laws of the United States. So, sue them. If suing them doesn't work, are you going to arrest them like the judges? I mean, I don't even want it to get to that point. I think Bob Ferguson would love far too much the photo op of him getting handcuffed by Trump's federal government and put in jail or whatever it is. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen from here. I'm happy Trump is noticing what's happening in sanctuary jurisdictions like ours. I'm happy the Deputy Press Secretary is saying help is on the way, hold tight. I also understand it's only been a few months and there's a lot of things going on. There has been a significant improvement at the southern border. Trump did an interview we're going to play a clip from later where he was asked what his greatest accomplishment of the first 100 days was, and he said the border. And I mean, we even had Democratic Congressman Adam Smith on the show the other day, and he even acknowledged, yeah, the border is way more secure under Donald Trump. Way more secure. I mean, no one can deny it. Democrats can't deny it. Like, the numbers of crossings plummeted to almost nothing. So great work has been done. Don't get me wrong, in the first 100 days of the Trump administration. But I almost feel like we get our hopes up and get too excited about some of these executive orders that are really just words until there's actually action. And this is one of the big ones that we need to see action on. Since we're talking about the topic of immigration, I want to remind you again, if you haven't watched it already, to catch our special report, Sanctuary. Sanctuary is up right now across all of our platforms. There is no paywall on it. So whether you want to watch it on YouTube, X, Facebook, Patreon, Locals, pick your poison. We have a lot of great information if you're interested in this debate and what it looks like for ICE to be operating in a sanctuary state like Washington.